Good afternoon, everyone. I'm proud to be joined by a large group of my colleagues, all of whom have been active in the issue of what's happening between our country and Russia. And I'll be brief, and so all of my colleagues can say some words as well. Now, in the wake of reports that the President disclosed classified information with the Russian Foreign Minister and the Russian Ambassador, we Democrats are united in believing that the President must make transcripts of those conversations available to the intelligence committees. The President should make full, unedited transcripts available immediately. No ifs, no ands, no buts. If the President may have put national security and our intelligence operations at risk, Congress has the right to know about it. As I believe Senator Tillis implied this morning, if the President felt comfortable sharing this information with the Russians, surely he feels comfortable sharing it with the Congress of the United States of America. I'm pleased that several of our Republican colleagues have also called on the White House to allow Congress to access transcripts of the meeting, but we need more of our Republican colleagues to speak out. This is not normal behavior. This is not how a White House should operate. Firing an FBI director who is investigating the President's campaign, disclosing classified information to a country that wishes us harm and just finished undermining the integrity of our elections. We need our Republican colleagues to join us in standing up, to put country over party, and work with Democrats to get the truth of Director Comey's firing, to protect the integrity of the investigation into Russian interference in our election, and to get to the bottom of yesterday's report. Searching for the truth is not a partisan thing to do. It is the patriotic thing to do. We need more than words from our Republican colleagues. We need action. Senator Durbin.
November 8th, 2016 is a day that will live in cyber infamy. The Russians did everything in their power to invade the government of the United States of America and to corrupt a presidential election. Those words are not mine alone. They're words that are backed up by every major intelligence agency of the United States of America. What have we done? We've initiated an investigation to find out what they did, how they did it, who was involved in it, and stop it from ever happening again. It's been one of the most serious counterintelligence investigations in this nation's history. And we have seen a litany of things occur since which are incredible. A national security advisor who was forced to resign because of contacts with the Russians that were not properly disclosed. A recusal by the Attorney General of the United States for misleading the Senate Judiciary Committee on his communications with the Russians. And just last week, the decision by the President of the United States to remove from office the man in charge of that investigation, the Director of the FBI, James Comey. And then the fumbling that occurred afterwards as they produced memos which were then disavowed and as they backtracked on the real reason for the removal of James Comey. Then to have, as a sequel to it, a meeting with the Foreign Minister of Russia as well as the Russian Ambassador, and for the leader of the United States of America to disclose classified top secret information to those two people in his office. To tell this story as it occurred is almost incredible for us to believe. But the question now is what we will do as the United States Senate. There have been moments in history where senators from both political parties have been called on to put country over party, to stand up together for the good of this nation, realizing the oath of office that we have taken binds us to the Constitution, to the law of the land, and to the integrity of this institution. This is one of those moments. We need to come together to have a special prosecutor, so there's no question that the person who is conducting this investigation on a criminal basis is one who is trusted. We need to make certain that we have that commitment and then bring together a person with strong bipartisan support to head up the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We need to have the transcript of what occurred in that Oval Office meeting that I've referred to. Most of all, we need to stand together, senators from different political parties, but committed to the same nation. We need, for the good of this country, for the Senate to come together.
Senator Franken. Thank you, Dick. I have been extremely concerned with the administration's ties with Russia. The acknowledgement that President Trump shared with the foreign minister and the ambassador from our enemies, the Russians, secrets that were classified is just shocking. These were about fighting ISIS. We should understand, the president should know that Russia in Syria is not fighting ISIS. They are fighting for Assad. And this idea that Dick on this, that ask my friends on the other side of the aisle to see this for what it is and to call for a special prosecutor. Thank you. Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you. I'm going to be asking Rod Rosenstein, when he appears this Thursday, whether he will commit to a special prosecutor. I voted against him. I was the only Democrat in the Judiciary Committee, the only member of the Judiciary Committee to vote against him because he would not commit then. And if he fails to do so, I will move ahead with legislation modeled on the law that existed between 1978 and 1999 that would give the power to a three-judge panel to appoint a special prosecutor. The dangerous and reckless disclosure of classified information by the President of the United States to one of our major adversaries shows how we are approaching a constitutional precipice. It can be addressed only with a special prosecutor who has the independence and objectivity to assure that there is an aggressive and vigorous investigation that has the trust and confidence of the public. There is a common thread to all these incidents. Russian meddling in our election, possible collusion with the Russians by the Trump campaign, the firing of Comey because of the Russian thing, the warning from the Deputy Attorney General about the National Security Advisor potentially vulnerable to blackmail by the Russians, and then disclosure of highly classified information without any pre-clearance. Whatever you think about the appropriateness of the information going to the Russians, there was no effort, none, to make sure the intelligence community knew about it. The only way to be sure that we have the tapes and transcripts of the Russian meeting and the Comey conversations is to subpoena the tapes, transcripts, and other records. Prosecuting 101. If you think evidence exists, put a subpoena on it. If the party says it doesn't exist, turns out later it does, there are criminal penalties. Without those subpoenas, there is no accountability. To be sure that we determine and verify whether those tapes and transcripts exist and that we are getting all of them, there need to be subpoenas. That's my personal view. And a special prosecutor is necessary to assure that this investigation is independent and that it has the confidence of the American people.
Senator Schatz.
The very first bill passed in United States history was called the Oath Act. It mandated that members of Congress solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States. And today we are called to fulfill that oath. Regardless of what party we belong to, we have an obligation to that. We must protect the country. And there is no doubt of the danger. The Russian foreign minister and ambassador now have information that they should not have. It's time to do something about it, and so let today be the day for Republican courage, because it wasn't yesterday, and we can't wait until tomorrow. What we need is courage and patriotism from the Republicans, and what we cannot have is mumbling in the direction of being concerned or troubled or wanting more information. What we need is true